Hey everyone, and welcome. So, what if I told you that the one place you've always been told is the safest for your money, a savings account, is actually, in the long run, one of the most dangerous? I know, it sounds completely backward, but stick with me, because we're going to break down exactly why. To really get this, let me tell you a story about a woman named Linda. Linda is probably a lot like you and me. She got a really generous gift, and she tried to do the absolute right, responsible thing with it. But, well, that caution ended up costing her a lot. So let's rewind to 2014. Linda's just graduated college, and her grandma gives her an amazing gift, 10,000 bucks. And her grandma's advice was simple. You know, the kind of advice a loving grandparent gives. Put this somewhere safe, don't go gambling it away. And Linda, being smart and responsible, did exactly that. Okay, now fast forward a decade to 2024. Linda decides, it's time. I'm going to buy a used car. She starts shopping around for a reliable Honda Civic, the kind of car that would have cost about $14,000 back when she got the money. But she gets a little sticker shock. That same car, it's now going for 22 grand. Things have gotten way, way more expensive. So she checks her safe savings account, expecting to see some decent growth after a whole decade, right? Well, after 10 years earning a pretty standard interest rate of 0.06%, her $10,000 had turned into $10,063. A measly 63 bucks. Suddenly the math was just not adding up. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The foundation she thought was solid rock was actually a block of ice, slowly, silently melting away. So what in the world happened here? What was this invisible force that was eating her money? Linda's story is the perfect real-world example of what we're calling the savings account illusion. It's this huge, common misunderstanding about how money actually works, and it's costing people a fortune without them ever even noticing. And this brings us to the most important idea of this entire explainer: purchasing power. Look, it's not about how many dollars you have. It's about what those dollars can do for you. What can they actually buy? A dollar isn't some fixed thing. Think of it as a claim ticket for real stuff, like groceries and gas. And the value of that ticket is always changing. And this is the heart of the illusion. We all get fixated on the nominal value. That's the number you see on your banking app. It looks stable, it feels safe, it doesn't go down. But the thing that really matters is the real value, what you can buy with it. And that is being constantly, quietly eaten away by inflation. So just how bad was it for Linda? Well, after you factor in a decade of inflation, the real purchasing power of her money plummeted by about 31%. Let that sink in. No, the number in her account didn't go down, but she lost nearly a third of what that money was for. Now, let's zoom out, because this isn't just about Linda. This is happening to everyone, all the time. It's like an invisible thief that gets stronger the longer you leave the door open. And the crazy part is, this thief preys on our desire to be safe and cautious. And the effect just gets worse and worse over time. Let's say you have 100 grand sitting in a typical savings account. After just 5 years, thanks to average inflation, you've lost about 16% of its buying power. It's gone. And after 20 years, half of its real value has literally vanished into thin air. All while that number in your bank account looked perfectly safe and sound. And here's the kicker. You want to know who wins in this scenario? The bank. While Linda's money was quietly decaying, her bank was putting it to work. They took her 10 grand, paid her practically nothing for it, and then lent it out to other people for car loans and mortgages at way higher rates. The bank made about $3,000 in profit from her cash, while she lost $2,400 in real value. It's not some evil plot. It's just how the business works. So why do we keep falling for this? Well, it all comes down to psychology. Our brains are hardwired to freak out about losses we can see. Watching your stock portfolio drop 10% feels like a punch to the gut, right? But the slow, silent, invisible creep of inflation, it doesn't set off any of our internal alarms. The financial damage can be just as bad, or even worse, but one feels like a crisis, and the other feels like, well, nothing. Okay, so the problem is pretty clear. But listen, the answer isn't cash is evil, get rid of it all. Not at all. The answer is to get smarter about it, to understand the proper job of cash in your financial life. I mean, just look at this chart. It tells the whole story. That tiny little bar on the left, that's your savings account return. See the bar in the middle? That's inflation. You're losing, guaranteed. But then look at the bar on the right. That's the historical average return of the stock market. It's not even a fair fight. One path builds real wealth. The other guarantees you fall behind. So here's the big takeaway. Cash is a tool, not a long-term investment. Its job is for short-term safety and having money available right when you need it, what we call liquidity. And for that very specific job, you should be using a much better tool, a high-yield savings account, or an HYSA. It'll give you a much better interest rate to help you fight back against that inflation thief. So what are those specific jobs for cash? There are really only two. First, your emergency fund. This is your safety net, enough to cover 6 months of your essential living expenses if everything goes wrong. And second, money you've set aside for a big purchase coming up soon, in the next year or two. Think a down payment on a house or a car. That's it. Any other cash is in the wrong place, because the long-term cost of being too safe is just absolutely staggering. Just look at this. $100,000 over 20 years. In a pretty good high-yield account, it might become about $135,000 in today's money. But that same 100 grand in a simple, boring index fund, it could become over $460,000. You're potentially leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table by choosing the safe option for your long-term goals. All right, so knowing all this is great, but turning that knowledge into action is what really changes your life. So let's get super practical. Here is a simple 4-step plan you can use this week to fix this. Here we go. 4 simple steps. 1. Calculate your emergency fund number. Figure out your bare bones monthly expenses, multiply by 6. That's your target. 2. Invest the rest. Any cash you have sitting around that's above that emergency fund number needs a new job, growing for the long term in a low-cost index fund. 3. Optimize your safety net. Move that emergency fund amount into a high-yield savings account so it's at least earning a decent rate. And 4, the most important one, automate. Set up automatic transfers from your checking to your investment account every single month. This puts your wealth building on autopilot and stops you from accidentally falling into the cash trap ever again. So, I'll just leave you with this one question to really think about. By keeping all that extra cash in a savings account, are you really avoiding risk, or are you just choosing the invisible, silent, but absolutely guaranteed risk of losing your purchasing power year after year? It's a huge decision. Thanks for tuning in.